We have breaking news tonight in the investigation into Donald Trump's mishandling of classified documents. A panel of three 11th Circuit Court of Appeals judges, two of whom are Trump appointees, have ruled in favor of the Justice Department, overturning Judge Eileen Cannon's order appointing a special master to vet those documents seized by the FBI from Mar-a-Lago in August. The opinion from the court says, in part, the law is clear. We cannot write a rule that allows any subject of a search warrant to block government investigations after the execution of the warrant, nor can we write a rule that allows only former presidents to do so. Either approach would be a radical reordering of our case law, limiting the federal court's involvement in criminal investigations, and both would violate bedrock separation of powers limitations. Joining me now is Joyce Vance, former U.S. attorney and MSNBC legal analyst. And Joyce, thank you very much. Really appreciate you being here. So I do have the ruling here, but I also have something even more valuable, which is your post about the ruling. And so I've been reading it really as quickly as I can. You make a couple of really good points that I would love you to explain a little bit further. One of them is the question of whether Judge Cannon even had standing to take the case. And your explanation is that the 11th Circuit Court said she did not. Can you explain?
Yeah, this is really the basis for this ruling, Joy. Federal courts are courts of limited jurisdiction. They can only hear cases that fall within their purview. And the 11th Circuit says very clearly, Judge Cannon did not have jurisdiction to hear this case. And there's a very simple reason for it. What happened in this situation was the government executed a search warrant during a criminal investigation. The government does that in a lot of cases, and people who are under investigation can't suddenly interfere and try to kneecap the criminal investigation. But that's what Trump did. And Judge Cannon said he could do this because this was an extraordinary case where she had equitable jurisdiction. And the problem with that ruling is the real point of the 11th Circuit's opinion today. They say, no, you didn't have equitable jurisdiction because Donald Trump never suggested that the government violated his rights, that there was some callous disregard for his constitutional rights that meant you could take this exceptional step of interfering with a criminal investigation. And on that basis, the 11th Circuit vacated her order and threw the case out of court.
And so what does that mean in practical terms? Does that mean Judge Dearie goes back to Brooklyn or wherever he was? And can Trump appeal this again and go back to the Supreme Court and start this whole cycle over again?
So those are exactly the right questions to ask. Yes, Judge Dearie goes back to Brooklyn, or I suppose he just gives back the documents and stops reviewing them. The 11th Circuit says Trump's not entitled to any of that. You know, as far as appeals, Trump has a couple of options. A litigant can always ask a panel of the 11th Circuit to reconsider their opinion. He could do that. It's absolutely pointless in this case. This is a unanimous opinion from the panel. It's what's called a per curiam opinion. All three of the judges jointly issue it, and it is a very strong opinion. One supposes Trump could ask the full 11th Circuit to reconsider the case. That, too, is unlikely to be availing. The Chief Judge Bill Pryor is one of the three judges on this panel. His views will carry great weight, and the opinion is very strong. The interesting thing here, Joy, is ultimately this has nothing to do with politics. It's precisely what the 11th Circuit says it is. It's about having a rule of law that applies to everyone equally, no matter how rich they are, who they are, or even if they're a former president. So Trump can even try to appeal this to the Supreme Court. I just don't think it's going to do him any good at all.
So far, it seems like his appeals have been about delay, right? He shopped around for a judge who would come up with this novel theory of law that because he's a former president, he should get this special treatment that no other American would get. Is it possible for him to do more of this shopping? Or, as you said, has he kind of reached the end of the line here? Because, as you said, if his theory is right, any president could break the law just because they were president and they would get all of this special treatment and they would be above the law.
And that's exactly what Trump always asks for. You're right, he plays the delay game. He could try to do that here, but the 11th Circuit has vacated Judge Cannon's order. That means that the Justice Department, I suppose now the special counsel, can go full steam ahead. And Trump would have to convince a court to stay that. in order for the delay involved in an appeal to mean anything for him. He can appeal, but the Justice Department is on the job.